Hello and welcome to a second edition of 10 Seconds. We're talking with Grant Baylor, part of the new Sherco team that has made its way into the GNCC racing world. Of course, though, I think it should be preluded with, rather than Sherco, with a Baylor name, because these guys have, along with his brother, Stu, have certainly made a big name for themselves and pioneered a lot of things, I think, and opened a lot of eyes for the GNCC racing world and even other off-road racing venues as far as that goes. And Grant being the little brother of Stu, first, I guess one question is, I mean, you look so old and so mature with the beard and everything, you know. How old are you?
I'm 22 years old, and my birthday's in May, so I'll be turning 23 this year.
So what's the age difference between you and your brother?
Almost 3 years. It's 2 years and right out 11 months, so
yeah,
a good little bit.
So you've been following in his footsteps for, well, your whole life, obviously, and being your big brother and everything, but it's been, I mean, you guys, I mean, more than brothers, it seems like, is what I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, we got about a 3-year difference, and you know, we always came up through the ranks pretty quick. You know, he set a lot of records, and then, you know, I was like, well, I can't let him outdo me, so I got to break his records. Which, you know, I broke some of them. He still got me beat. You know, I believe he won his first national championship, and then Duros when he was 17 years old, which is unbelievable. So yeah, you know, I've always kind of chased his footsteps and you know, tried to outdo him the best I can.
He's always set the bar high for you, that's for sure, huh?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is, I mean, growing up through most of your career, you guys have worked together. You coming off of the Teely Racing Energy squad together, even the last year or so, I guess. Yeah. You guys have been back together.
Yeah. I mean, you know, originally we were Baylor Boys Racing. You know, back when we were kind of doing our own thing with KTM support on mini bikes. That was when it kind of all came about. We were Baylor Boys Racing, and you know, we had my dad painted up our 12-foot box trailer. He painted it orange and put Baylor Boys Racing down the side of it, and you know, we went racing. So you know, we've come a long way now, and you know, it's been good.
It has, and that's just kind of a little introduction, but I think most people already know that. But man, let's talk about this past weekend right now. I mean, you guys, you know, pretty stellar performance. Your brother coming off of a 4th place. You got, what was it, 6th in class?
Yeah.
6th in class. What was the overall for you?
7th overall. Mikey ended up getting me, which you know, I wasn't too happy about my result. You know, it was just some mistakes on my part. First lap, I don't know, first lap I had a really bad start, and you know, just started to get going, it seemed like. And then towards the end of the first lap, I started to get some arm pump and rode tight for the second lap. And I believe it was also on the first lap, we came down to the creek jump, and you know, I rolled around the corner and hit false neutral right off the face of the creek jump. So I locked up the brakes and slid off the creek jump down into the creek, and then had to turn up and out of the creek and turn around and go back and get a run and turn around and hit the jump again. The crowd went wild. You know, it was kind of funny, but you know, it was embarrassing at the same time because you know, I'm a pro rider. I shouldn't be riding off the creek jumps in neutral. But yeah, you know, that was kind of how I started the day. And then after that, my third lap was I believe my third lap was second or third fastest out of everybody. So you know, I started to get things rolling, and I know I can do it on the Sherco. I've proven that to myself, and the bikes have proven after this weekend that they got what it takes. So you know, I'm really happy with all that. And but yeah, I mean, as the race went on, like I said, third lap was really good. 4th lap went well. 5th lap went well, and then coming into the finish line on the 5th lap, you know, I was coming into this turn and trying to square up and get on the inside of all the ruts and chop. So as soon as I went to turn and square up, I must have hit a little rock under the ground, and before I knew it, I was on my head, and it rung my bell pretty good. Like, I watched a lot of feed, and it didn't really show my crash. It just showed me getting up, and I got up, and it took me forever, and I had to shake my head out because I couldn't see when I got up. Everything was just blurry, and it rattled me. But I got back going, and Mikey got around me there, and I rode most of the day right with Mike Mikowski. We were pretty much wheel to wheel most of the day between us and Johnny Gerard, and also Craig DeLong was there for a good bit as well. So then after that, Lane put up a pretty good fight there on the last lap. About 2 or 3 miles from the end, I came down a little mud hole, and a lap rider decided he was going to pin it off right in front of me into the mud hole, and then whiskeyed his bike right into me and took me out. Lane got by, and so I put my head back down and tried to just stay on his rear wheel and hope he would make a mistake. And sure enough, we came to the next mud section, and I went to the fast line, and he went wide to go around the mud hole, I guess, to be safe. And luckily I made it through the ditch clean and got up the hill just in front of him and was able to hold off Lane for the end there. But I ended up, I believe it was 11 seconds off Ashburn. So just one of those big mistakes, many big mistakes I made yesterday. Could have been at least one more position ahead.
That's pretty impressive. I'm coming in with a new team, new bike. Like I was talking with your brother, I don't want to necessarily say unproven, because the bike has been around. It's a trials bike, it's a European bike, but here in the U.S., under the conditions that we put them through in GNCC, which can be different, I think, than some of the forms of racing, at the level of XC1 Pro, they have never really been tested, so you're coming in kind of blind. You got a national enduro under your belt, so that's one thing.
Yeah. But
GNCC is a whole different beast whenever it comes down to it.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, they haven't really been proven here in the U.S. I would say they haven't been proven by Baylor.
Yeah.
I know most everybody knows Stewart's really hard on bikes, and we're both bigger than most guys. We're both around 215 pounds, and most of these other guys are 180 around there. So we're gonna put the bike through a lot more strain on the engine, and get it hotter and stuff too. So my bike was awesome for the whole 3 hours this past weekend. Like I said, it was just my mistakes, and
Was that a surprise to you? Really? You have to go in, I would think, with a little something in the back of your head. I know your brother said he wasn't sure. He wasn't real. You hadn't had a lot of time to test and this and that, so he wasn't real confident in the fact that he just didn't know, I guess.
Yeah. I would say a lot of it too is just other people in your ear. That people get in your head, and there's just been a lot of people saying stuff like just insults on the bike and Sherco and everything. So talking them down and telling us that we're not going to finish races and this and that. But we've been on the bike since November, and we've been hammering them since then. And we've been on completely stock bikes, and like I said, we're the Baylors. We're going to put them to the test and run them as hard as they go. And they've been phenomenal all winter. So coming into GNCC, I wasn't really that worried. I expected to finish, and I still, I'm not going to say I wasn't a little nervous, just being on that bike that hasn't been proven by us, in a 3-hour GNCC. There's nothing like a 3-hour GNCC. Everybody knows that. It's a whole different ball game there. So, I was, I wouldn't say I was too shocked with the outcome, but I just need to make some improvements on my part.
I realize that, it's hard to gauge everything with it just being one round. You do have there's 2 great national races on the bikes. I know the National Enduro in the first round of GNCC, I guess the true test is the longevity of it. Will he hold up over time and stuff? One race is one thing, but what about Florida? Well, how's the bike going to react there? I mean, have you had a chance to test in different types of terrain, rocks and mountains and things like that to see the true stability of the bike, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to do as much as we could in the past couple of months being down in South Carolina. We don't have mountains or anything, too bad to go, like snowshoe. We don't have anything like snowshoe to go hammer them on. So, we've been down in the sand and they've been running good down the sand. So, we had a little issues with the clutch and stuff in the beginning, but, Recluse got us all sorted with the clutch, and now we're not having any issues with the clutch in the sand. So, I mean, now I'm not really too worried about Florida. I think it's going to be good. And, other than that, I'm not looking forward to it because I'm not a big fan of the sand in general. So, much less Florida. Unless we're going back to the was it the mud mucker we did? Yeah, back in 2014, I believe. That place was fun. It was like, I think it was 90% swamp and 10% sand. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So you like the mud. That's funny. You and your brother really are different. I mean, he favors the sand. I mean, he's pumped and he's excited and about sand conditions. And that's funny how you two are so different in that idea.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is probably the riding style. I've got to really, they were doing an interview, Racer T was doing an interview with me at the race, and I was, just saying like our riding styles are completely different. I go and I look at the trail and I say, what's the easiest, most efficient way to go through here? And he's gonna hit it. He's gonna hit it and just give it 100%. There's the difference right there. So, I'd say that riding style helps him in the sand to just be attacking the track and, just jumping whoops and being 100% committed all the time, which I seem to struggle with. I would rather be riding at 90% and being, in control and, but we got a couple weeks here before Florida, so hopefully I get down there and put some time in the sand and get things dialed in.
No doubt. Tell me, I know the deal was worked out late last year for Stu. I kind of know the timeline of how that all went down and that it was happening, but I wasn't real sure about what was going on with you. Were you a part of the whole thing from the beginning, or were you kind of looking for your own deal? I mean, because you'd almost kind of come off of, you come off of some other efforts with Ampro Yamaha a few years ago, and doing your own thing. Was you thinking about going in a different direction at one point?
Yeah, I mean this past signing season was kind of crazy for me. It was like one deal came and then it fell through, and then another deal came and it fell through, and it happened 3 or 4 times before I got one to stick. It was just I don't know. It was kind of frustrating, and people weren't being too professional, or they weren't handling the business too great. But it is what it is, and I'm grateful for Sherco to step up, and they kind of came out of nowhere, and that was part of it too. I was talking to some other guys, and then Sherco came out of nowhere and said, "Hey, we want to throw in an offer and see what we can do," because they just gotten Stewart and Cody, and they were really looking to make a push, and they said, "Oh, it would be great if we could get both the Baylor brothers and do this thing big and do it right." So that was their thought on it, and I was like, at that point, at this point, I guess in my career, I'm 22 years old. I've had the last 4 years or so, I've been dealing with the shoulder injuries, and then I'd say there was 2 years there I was dealing with, like a year or two I was dealing with those shoulder injuries, and then I had the shoulder surgery in the off season, which put me off, and I missed the first few rounds of the season in 2018 or 17, and then had the other one done the following year in missed the first few rounds missed the first few rounds in 18 and the first few rounds in 19. But this will be the first year where I've come in healthy and healed, and I believe I would have to go back and look, but I believe 6th place was my best finish to date at the opening round of the GNCC. So, I'm not too bummed on that.
Yeah, you match your best already. That's got to be pretty impressive. I mean, make you feel pretty good. You mentioned the injuries, and we talked a little bit about the other teams and stuff. I want to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what led into where you are today, I guess. So stick around. We'll be right back with more 10 seconds.
Did you know you can save up to 25% and receive free shipping on great AMSOIL products with their preferred customer program? AMSOIL also has special pricing arrangements and free shipping for commercial accounts such as trucking companies, loggers, landscapers, and businesses like yours. Or if you have a business and would like to begin selling AMSOIL products, you could qualify to participate in the AMSOIL retail account program. You could become an independent AMSOIL dealer and build and grow your own profitable businesses. For more information, call John Coffey, your full-service AMSOIL dealer, at 877-694-4763 and leave him a message.
B&R Motorsports Racing Engines and Suspension is a family-owned business with over 15 years' experience working on motorcycles, ATVs, dirt bikes, side-by-sides, and snowmobiles. B&R Motorsports strives to provide the best customer service, products, and prices. Check out their website at bnrmotorsports.com and find an extensive inventory of parts for the YZ450RX, the Raptor 125, the Can-Am, and Can-Am side-by-sides, wheels and parts, and shocks, shock parts, and springs, and more. That's bnrmotorsports.com.
So you ready for snowshoe this weekend, Brandon?
Oh, yeah.
Are you? That's cool. Stop, Billy. It's supposed to be pretty nasty this weekend up on Snowshoe Mountain. Stop it, Billy. I'm pretty pumped. Put the brakes on. DP brakes. Good enough to stop my ATV, his ATV, and hell, it'll even stop a Billy.
Welcome back to 10 Seconds. We are here with Grant Baylor, part of the Sherco off-road efforts in the Grand National Cross Country Championship Series and also the National Enduro Series. And I'm sure whatever else comes along. And Grant, we've talked about, everything with Sherco and leading up. We've kind of touched on a few other things. We've mentioned, AmPro deal. Well, let's go back a little bit and let's talk about your career itself. I mean, we know, like your brother, you have a very storied career, the amateurs you came up through, and both of you really, I think, excelled at young ages. Size might have a lot to do with that, and just sheer talent might be a big part of it, or the biggest part of it too. I think both, work hand in hand personally, but let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, your transitions from the youth to the amateur classes.
Oh yeah, it was all, we started out doing the Mid-East and the Cetra stuff here local, and then when I turned 7 years old, we went straight to GNCC, and from the beginning, even at those local stuff, we were always winning, and then my dad, he knew, he was like, we got to take these boys to the GNCC and see what they got. So Stuart, I believe, he didn't start doing them until he was about 8 or 9 years old, but I started as soon as I could when I was 7 years old, and obviously Stuart was already like full swung GNCC at that time. And my first GNCC I won, it was Aonia, Georgia, opening round, I believe, and I was 7 years old, and it was awesome. I believe I ran out of gas, and then my dad ran out in the woods, found me, put some gas on my bike. And then I got back up into the lead, and then I was the only kid in my class. I might have been the last kid on the track, that didn't get lapped. And at this time we still raced after the four-wheelers, so on Saturday, and I was the last kid on the track, and I was out there after I ran out of gas, and then we were coming back up just beside the entrance to the track there under the pond dam. There was a mud section we used to run up through there, and just went into one of the mud ruts and derailed my chain, and I believe I was out there until after dark. I think it was pitch black pretty much when I pulled into the finish line. They were already done with all the podiums and everything, and they were waiting on me. I was the last podium. I was 65, 7-9 class, which was the last class at the time, I believe. And they were all waiting on me at the podium, and that's how I started GCC. So from there on, I didn't really let up. I went on from there, and I don't know right off on how many championships I had in the minis. It was kind of like 1 year on, 1 year off, depending on when Aaron Plessinger was racing against me or not, because I believe there was a year or two where he came in and might have beat me for the championship. But other than that, it was between me and Aaron. We were battling. We were battling for overalls from the second row and stuff. So, I moved to my last year on minis. I was in Super Mini 12 to 13, and I was battling against Lane Michael. He was in the 14 to 15 Super Mini, and it came down to like the last, I believe it was like 4 races from the end there, 3 or 4 races from the end there. We went to Somerset, PA, and I ended up burning my clutch up and lost all my hopes for a championship there. And it sucked because the same race, Lane had some bad luck too. I believe he lost his front and rear brakes. So he, being a real rocky and fast track like that, he wouldn't have been able to do what he could do normally. That kind of sucked. But then it gave me an opportunity to move to the big bikes early that year, and that way I could see what I had for the 3 hour for the following year. Because I was planning on moving up. I was 12 years old, but I was way too big for a Super Mini. It wasn't going to work. I was 170 pounds.
Jeez.
I was 5'8", and I had a
full-grown man, basically.
Yeah, I had a YZ 125 spring on my KTM 105. I had a shot, just the stock shock with a YZ spring on it, and then I had like 1.5 inch risers on my forks. It wasn't going to work for another year. And like you said, we came up maybe because of our size as well as just the talent, which I would agree completely with you there. Like, no other kid that I've seen, is going to have the luck of just having that size as well as the talent. You see like JoJo Cunningham now. He's got the talent. He's just, he's not a big guy like me and Stewart were when we were his age. Like, if he were six, almost 6 foot when he was 12 years old, he probably would have moved to A class already, and this wouldn't be his first year. But yeah, so I'd say that all helped out. And but yeah, I went to my first race there at the end of my last season on Super Minis. It was Powerline Park, and it was the next last round of the year. And first race, I signed up in the B class just to see where I stood, and I ran the 250B class, and I won that race, and I believe I would have finished second or third in the A class when I looked at the overall standings. So, then Ironman was 2 weeks after that, or 2 or 3 weeks after that, and so Ironman, I was like, all right, let's line up in the A class, because I was riding in the B class at the last race and kind of just rode by myself. And anybody knows, when you're riding by yourself, you're not going to ride your full potential, but when you're battling for first or second, you're going to push yourself harder, no doubt. So, Ironman, I believe I was battling with like Scott Grills and Zachary Nash, and some of those older guys back in the day. And it was, I was 13 at the time, so that was my first A race, and I believe I finished like 15th or 16th overall.
Wow.
So, from there on out, it was like, I knew this is what I was going to do. I knew I was going to make it to this level. But, after that, I went to jumping a little bit. But after that, I went in the A class the next year. And like I said, I was racing against like Zachary Nash and Scott Grills, Adam Benair, and Chris Douglas, a couple other guys like that,
Yeah.
I believe at the time. And it was the first year was almost a fight every race, and I believe I only got 2 or 3 top amateurs for the year, but I ended up getting the top amateur for the year. I was the amateur rider of the year for my first year in the A class, and then second year was like I felt like a veteran. You know, I was like, I've done it once, and it just felt right to go out there and ride my race. And at that point, I was just fighting for overalls. And my second year in the A class, I finished 16th overall for the season, and top amateur again. And then I moved to the XC2 division after that, and they actually had to change the rules so that I could move into XC2. But I didn't want to run in the A class again. You know.
So how you were a 15 whenever you moved up to
Yes,
XC2?
I was.
Because they had made that, what, a 16-year-old class, 16 to whatever class at one point?
Yeah, so Stewart moved up he moved around. I mean, when he moved up to the XC2, he went to XC1 for a race or two as well. And, you know, it opened some people's eyes, and then they brought in that rule because of Stewart. And they realized, like, hey, you know, we got a 16-year-old out here in XC1 or whatever it was at the time. Stewart, you know, he was 16 or 17 at the time racing in XC1, and then they brought in that rule. I believe it was 16 to run XC2 and 17 to run XC1 or something like that, 18. But yeah, I won the A class 2 years in a row, and you know, we kind of just had to. You know, it didn't make sense for me to go back to run the A class again, and it wasn't fair to other guys either, you know, for me to go back and run A class again when I was winning races by minutes, and I needed to be in XC2. So they changed that rule for me, and I was able to move up to XC2 the following year. And I came in racing against Andrew DeLong, who was the man at the time. He was, I believe, still in the Redhead Husky, and you know, it was his year. He won the first 5 races in a row, and then I think at like a local enduro or something between round 5 and 6, he was working on the track, and somebody was going down the track backwards, hitting him head on, and he mangled his wrist pretty bad. So yeah, he won the first 5 races in a row, and then after that it was me and Jason Thomas. We were battling for second and third, and you know, a couple other guys in there as well. But after that, you know, he was out for the year. It was down to me and Jason, and you know, Jason put up with me and Jason. We battled all through the year, and he put up a good fight until I believe it was the John Penton. He ended up having some issues and dropped out of the race at the John Penton, and you know, after that it was a clear shot for my championship.
Your brother, I mean, from a fan standpoint, you and your brother and Jason Thomas seem to have some super animosities against one another, at least in the racing. I mean, they were highly competitive against each other. Did a lot of that flow over? Did that aggression towards your brother flow over towards you think, from Jason when you were racing against him?
Not really. I mean, there was times, you know, it was, I don't respect every move that he makes, but you know, I respect Jason. I think he's a good guy, and you know, he means well. He's just you know, sometimes he's a little extra. That's all it is. And you know, we had some little issues here and there when I was in XC2. As I believe round 4 was the first time we really had a run in Still Creek, and let's see, I believe it was, you know, it was me and Andrew, Jason, and Aaron Plessinger, and this was, Aaron just came back out of nowhere for this one race. You know, he hadn't been racing GNCC in years, and I believe 2 or 3 years since he's done a full season. So he just came out of nowhere and ran Still Creek, and we had a 4-way battle. It was the most intense, awesome battle I've ever had in a GNCC. You know, it was from the flag drop, you know, at the start till we hit the checkered. It was, you could have thrown a blanket over the 4 of us, and it was awesome. But you know, Jason, he came into me a little too aggressive a couple of times, and then also there was pictures of him taking out Andrew DeLong in the same race. I mean, just completely T-boning and stuff. So, you know, he came into me on a really fast turn, like a 4th gear turn, and tried to take my front wheel out, and you know, which could have been really bad for me. And after the race, I told him, I was like, dude, like we, you know, that's not really necessary, and he wanted to throw a big fit, and so it was kind of a little bit of a drama there at the finish line for that one. But after that, we kind of shook hands, and I've been friends with him since. We've raced together good since then, and he never did that again, like on the track. It was after that it was all good. We raced good, and we've been buddies since. So
that's awesome. So we'll continue on. I mean, your XC2 career, the championship. I mean, that was a pretty good battle. Like you said, he dropped out after, or you had a problem there at John Penton or whatever. So
yeah. I mean, after that, he dropped out at the John Penton there, and I believe there was probably 3 or 4 rounds left after that, and after that it was pretty much I just had to finish my races and be on the podium, which was pretty. I wasn't sweating it too much, so I think I ended up wrapping it up 1 round early, I believe, and it was awesome to win my first year. I didn't expect it. I wouldn't have if Andrew hadn't had issues, but I kind of wish he didn't have issues, and I kind of wish I would have gotten second that year, to be honest. I kind of
almost too easy, I guess.
No, it wasn't too easy. I was just too young to go to XC1.
Right.
Because after I won that year, I was forced to go to XC1.
I got you.
So
you weren't allowed to stick around and defend the plate.
1 year. You can stick around for 1 year.
I
I followed up the next year and won it again, but I was only 16 years old.
Right.
So then I had to move to XC1 when I was 17 years old, and I believe everybody else moved to XC1 when they were about 22 or 23, which is my age now.
Right.
So, most of these other guys were racing against at least, but.
So the best is yet to come, you're thinking, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, I'm just starting to really hit that beginning of the peak.
The maturity level that it takes to perform in the XC1, I think,
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's just, a lot goes into it, and it's really hard on you too. It's not as easy as it seems. Like on the mental side too. Like there's a lot of days where it's just really hard mentally. But I mean, it's just a whole different ball game up there in XC1 class compared to the XC2, and going back to the XC2, my second year in XC2, I came in with the #1 plate, and then came out swinging and won, I believe, 7 or 8 races that year in the class, and wrapped up the championship early, a couple rounds early, and then moved to XC1 for Ironman, the final round of the year there, and I was almost a factory KTM rider. It was like that support deal, kind of where I was on the side tent, but I mean, I got up there on they gave me a 450 to race there, and I'd been running the 450 in the National Enduros that year, so I was familiar with the bike, and I've been practicing on one. And really that year, my second year in XC2, I never really, I bet my 250 had 20 or 30 hours on it that year, and my 450 probably had 100 or so. So it was like I rode my 450 all that year and didn't really ride the 250 that much, because I was really liking the 450, and I've always suited a bigger bike with more power. So it was good. But I moved to Ironman and had a pretty good start. I believe I was like second or third off the line, and then those guys showed me what it was like to be an XC1 after that. And
what was the initiation like? Is it tougher? I mean, I'm sure they don't give much, huh?
They don't. It's like if you slip up for just a second, they're going to pass you. So like the first couple laps there, everybody's right on top of each other, and it's so intense. Like if you're just wanting to relax for just a second, and catch a breath, you're going to get passed. Mm-hmm. So it kind of sucks, but I mean it's different. And that first race in XC1, I believe I felt like I was Zach Osborne, in the night show, like just getting bumped around by everybody, just taking me out. So first race was kind of interesting, and then I was so shook up after the first couple miles. We got to the Ironman hill climb, and I got stuck on that, and Yeah, my first race wasn't good in XC1. It was bad. So yeah, I was like 20th overall, and like I said, when I was like 14 or 13 years old, I finished better than that in my opening A-class race. So yeah, that sucked. But after that, the first year in XC1 was I moved to the Ampro team.
That's what I wanted to talk about. I mean, that's got to be a pretty. I mean, that was monumental on a lot of different levels. I mean, you're switching brands. I'm sure there was a lot of reasons behind that, and one of them might have been that Randy Hawkins was leader of Ampro Yamaha, and I think anybody with any smarts would like to try to pick his brain. But I mean, tell me the backstory on that, how that all happened.
Yeah, I mean, after my 2 championships in XC2 on the KTM, I received an offer from both teams, and the Ampro offer just seemed to be better. It was a better offer at the time for me, and so I thought. But it was Ampro is only an hour away from home. Their headquarters for their team and all, it's only an hour away from my home here in upstate South Carolina. So it just seemed like the right move for me, and I've known Randy before I could walk, really. My dad was at the races at that time, and we grew up around him, eating having cookouts and stuff for the enduro club and the local enduro club and all that at his place. So yeah, I mean, it seemed like the right move, and I went with it, and I was riding. I felt really good on the bike and felt really good with the team. And first year on the bike, I came out swinging at the first couple rounds of the enduros, and I won the first 2 races there, and then, which was kind of weird for me winning Sumter, because I'm not really that, like I said, I'm not really a sand rider, and I came out and killed it there. So then I came out of the GNCCs, and I was doing pretty good that year. I was top 5 almost every race, and I got a couple podiums here and there. I believe I started out at the beginning of the year at about 10th place overall and like 7th in the class at Florida. And then I slowly moved up. I went from there to like 6th to 5th to 3rd to 2nd. And end of the year, I was the most consistent guy out there other than Caleb. He won most of the races, and then he probably won all of them that year. But I ended up 2nd overall for the year, my opening rookie year in XC1 class. And then the next year happened, and same thing. The next year, I may have been wrong there when I said it was the enduros I started out good at. It was the next year I started out in enduros. I killed it in 2016 on the Yamaha.
Right.
And 15 I was 2nd in XC1, and I finished 2nd in the national enduros that year. And then 16 I had a good year going, and things were looking good, and I went up to do a sprint enduro in West Virginia, and I was coming down this hill, and there was this, sprint enduro was all ribboned in, and the course was ribboned and we were going down this steep hill, and it was really fast, and there was a chicane to slow us down and curve us like that. Well, since day one, there was a line that somebody was going, they were going to the outside of the chicane here and just going straight and through the ribbon, and I didn't hit it all weekend, and it was the last time we were running the enduro test, and I kept seeing it because it was like the main line, like everybody was hitting it, and it was a second or two faster, and I was like, man, I need to hit that. So the last lap through there, I was like making sure I'm hitting this thing, and I had a killer test going too. Like I called Josh Toth, he was in front of me. I started 15 seconds behind him. He said he didn't even wreck. I called him, I was on his rear wheel when I wrecked, and he ended up overalling that test about a couple seconds over Thad. So I was just killing it, that test. And then I hit that line. As soon as I moved over to that line, I probably wouldn't even hit the line if I hadn't had Josh in front of me. I would have missed it again, because I saw him and I was able to just hit it behind him. But there was a root, it was just a vine, and it had a little hook in it like that. wrapped right around my foot and my peg, and I was third gear wide open, and the bike just came out from under me, and I went flying down the hill and landed up against a big oak tree, and the bike landed on top of me, and my shoulder was popped out. And after that, it was that was tough. Like, I got back up on the bike, and I knew instantly. I was like, something's not right. My arm wouldn't move. It was just like paralyzed, and so I got on the bike and tried to get it up on the clutch and tried to pull in the clutch, and I barely got back to the pit. And then luckily, our good friend Doc McGee was there, and he was racing. So as soon as he got in from his test run, he came over, and he's like a ER doctor, so he came over and helped me get it back into place. That's something he does every day, and so that was awesome. But from there on out, it was like everything I did, I had to think and say, can I do this, or am I going to pop my shoulder out? Like,
it was a pretty defining moment in your career. It's a big change in everything, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, my whole lifestyle changed. Like I said, like, I had to think before I could do anything. Like, just if I want to do something fun, like jump off a cliff into the water or whatever, it's just like my shoulder might pop out, or jumping bicycles, or just just anything like that. It was just
and I'm sure that hurt in the racing end of things.
Definitely. I gotta be a little more cautious with it, and you can tell now that I kind of favor my shoulders and try to keep them tucked in, and I do my best. But I mean, it's still, after that, I had that one shoulder problem, and then right out a year later, I was in France racing at 6 days, and I was just going around a sweeping left turn, and I didn't think I'd ever injured my opposite shoulder before. Like, I'd never really had a major injury on it or anything to where like I thought it was going to dislocate. But yeah, I mean, I was just going around like an off-camber turn and had a good rut in it and some chop coming out, and I came out that turn and hit that chop, and as soon as I hit that chop, my shoulder just dropped out, and it was like the bike just hooked up enough to where it like pulled on the bars a little bit right when it hit that chop, and it pulled my shoulder right out of socket. So that one kind of sucked, because I mean, I didn't even hit the ground. And I've heard, once you dislocate one, the other one follows right after, because it throws it off balance. But I don't know how it works. But yeah, I mean, I never really injured that shoulder that much, and that sucks. So that was right after I had this one fixed, and this one was feeling good, and I thought I was getting back on track, and then that hit me. So then I knew right away. I was like, there goes another 4 or 5 months of my career to sit there with a sling on my arm for a month and a half and not be able to move my arm for a month and a half. And then after that, I was like, I started doing strength exercises about a month and a half in, and at first it was just lifting my arm up and stretching it, and then from there it moved to lifting half-pound weights to progressing more and more. But I mean, it's been a real struggle with those shoulders.
I imagine. Your brother's got a few wins under his belt in his career. You've got a win. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that one comes in a wild way. The one at John Penton. Yeah,
definitely. I don't really consider that a win in my book, but I guess I won there. But it was a good day. I mean, I was still there. I was right behind those guys, and Caleb and Thad were battling really hard the whole race, and I believe I was just kind of shadowed them about 30 seconds back the whole race. And last lap, I believe his last lap, Caleb had some issues with his bike, but he got it back going, lost a couple minutes, and he still managed at third place. But Thad, he had some issues with some footage of Racer TV where he was off the course and he got docked position. So I ended up second for the day, and then when he was out of that position, that moved me into first, and that was my first XC1 overall, or my first ever overall. And I don't know if I really count that in my books, so I'm still pushing for that first overall.
And I totally understand that. And the reason I prelude that is because we talked a few minutes ago about your age being, I don't want to say forced, but because of the circumstances and situation, having to move into the XC1 class at such a young age, you're reaching that maturity level of 22 when a lot of guys are early 20s, when most guys start to hit it, and then it takes a couple of years sometimes for them to really, I think 20, 23, 24, 25 is when you start to see guys really settle in and figure it out and really start to be strong about it. I mean, you've got a little bit of a head start on that. And looking at it from that perspective, you've still got a long career and what could be a lot of wins and even championships ahead of you right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I would. My plan always was to race until I was about 35, or when my body kind of stopped letting me perform at the level I needed to. So, but yeah, I mean, now with these shoulders, it's I don't know when the next time is I'm going to injure it, and hopefully I don't. But hopefully I can keep it going.
But do you think you've gained enough knowledge to start winning races now? I mean, I'm sure the shoulders coming in late. You're always been behind the 8 ball. Now that you're a little more healthy, I mean, do you think that's something you got on the horizon to look forward to?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not far off. I know I can do it, and it's just I need to figure it out. I need to figure out the whole 3-hour race and put it together.
What is it about? I mean, it seems like the first couple laps, I don't want to say you struggle, but man, there's something about those last 2 or 3 laps every race, that last hour, the last half of the race basically. I mean, you start rolling. I mean, is that something by design? Is that just the way things work out?
Well, before it was always, it's always really mostly been arm pump on the first 2 laps. It takes me about 2 laps to get rid of arm pump. And then after that, it feels like I can start flowing. And, when I get arm pump, the biggest thing is I miss my brake and my clutch. I can't get my fingers to move. They're like locking up and moving slowly, and just miss the brake and the clutch and go into the corner just a little too hard. And, it just makes it throws off everything.
So what do you think? I mean, you're a seasoned rider. You've done nothing but basically race your. What causes that arm pump? Is that a nerve thing? I mean, were you nervous? You're just holding on so tight? Is it just?
I think it is. It could just be like some kind of like performance thing. When it comes to performing and having that, at high intensity and the nerves.
I remember even in Caleb's earlier career. I mean, I think he's had some surgeries and stuff to try to fight that. But even he had that. I mean, that seems to be a pretty standard problem for riders, is the arm pump issue.
Yeah, definitely. And at this point, I'm almost kind of ready to get the surgery, because it's like a hit and a miss for me now. It's like one day I'll get it and one day I won't. So like most of the time, at the GNCCs, I will almost 90% of the time I'll get arm pump, and that usually lasts a lap and a half. The first half lap I'll be good, and then the right about the time we start the 3rd lap, it goes away. So at this point I'm kind of just ready to get arm pump for the GNCC side of things. But then when I go to the enduros, we're racing on a trail that I've never seen in my life, and we're going just as fast as we are in a GNCC on this trail that's this wide, and then the trees are only like just wider than your handlebars. So I'll go to the National Enduro and won't have a problem. I won't pump up. I'll ride smooth, and I'll just ride my race. And
a lot of pressure in the GNCC.
That's I think that's what it is for me. I think there's different things come into play there when it comes to arm pump, for sure. I think there's a lot of factors that come in, between nerves and fitness and hydration and stretching. There's a bunch of factors with that.
Yeah, a lot of science to it. I mean, that's what it's turned into. But We've been at this for a little while, man. We're going to let folks go. We'll visit with you again someday. But just what are your expectations out of this year in a nutshell?
Well, like we were just talking about, getting another win. I really would like to get another win. This year I think I can do it, and I don't think I'm far off. I know I have the speed, and I just need to put it together for 3 hours. And like I said, this is one of my better starts to a year I've ever had. So, it's not looking too bad on the new team, and to do what we did yesterday on the new bikes, and I was on suspension. I'd never even ridden on before at Big Buck, and almost completely stock bike. So to say I did what I did there and finished 6th in the class and 7th overall, and it wasn't too far off the pace. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I think things are just going to get better, and I'm looking forward to what happens at the end of this year.
Any parting shots? Anything you want to say before I let you go?
What was that? Sorry.
Any parting shots? Anything you want to say before I let you go?
I guess just thanks to the whole Factory One Sherco team for stepping up this year and giving me everything I need to succeed. And like I said, I'm looking forward to just getting better and getting better with this team.
That's Grant Baylor. This is 10 Seconds.